Oh, it said it out loud. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, so introductions. So my name's Emrys. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a creative producer based up in Scotland, working in various community projects. So I do Sapphic Writers. I'm developing an LGBT youth theatre project in Glasgow. And I generally find pockets of work to do that represent communities in art-based ways. Community activism is really important to me, but so is creativity, and I like to mesh the two together. At Sapphic Writers, I'm one of the co-producers, which means I do lots of logistical stuff, long-term planning, finances, stuff like that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Lots of funding application writing as well. So yeah, that's kind of my bag. Jess, do you want to introduce the rest of the team?
Yeah, so I'm Jess Magnan, and I'm also one of the co-producers here at Sapphic Writers. I do a lot of the stuff Emrys just listed, but I would say maybe less of it. Emma's definitely at the forefront of what we do, I would say. I do a lot of the Sapphic soirees, though, with Julia. And outside of Sapphic Writers, I am a freelance writer and editor, and I also run a blog. And yeah, that's what I do. So we'll move on to China, who, oh, I was going to say maybe we should each say where we're from. So Em is in Scotland, I'm in Michigan in the US, and Chai is in North Carolina, I'm pretty sure. And Chai is one of our newest members who I think brings a lot of the energy and like fun that we have in the team. Just in our last meeting, they said, we need to have monthly meetings where we just play games together, which I appreciate. Next, we have Julia, who is our communities coordinator, who just moved to Vancouver to do her master's degree in fantasy writing. Was it actually fantasy writing? Does anyone else on the team remember exactly?
I think it's a more like overall masters. Oops.
Okay.
I think it's an all overall masters, but like specializing in fantasy, which is Julia's bag.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So she does most of our community events, and she also runs the Sapphic soirees. Yeah, just community engagement type things for Julia. And then we have Madeline, who runs our podcast and also does community engagement. Madeline just moved to Minnesota, I want to say, because they were in Eastern time zone, but then when her and her wife moved, yeah, Minnesota, Central Time now. And so she runs the podcast and does also community engagement. And then Anissa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Anissa. I use they, them pronouns. I am the event coordinator, so I set up and run the open mic nights and some other things that we've got planned. I help organise the zine launches and make loads of plans for exciting things that I would like to happen. And I do help a bit with funding applications and things like that, so where I'm needed.
Mm-hmm. And then last but not least, we have Cherry, who is in the UK, and her capacity fluctuates a lot. So we have her in as a floater. She comes in and just kind of takes on projects and tasks as needed and when needed. Most of the times I feel like that is with the zine. But she really comes in whenever she has time and whenever we have a surplus of things that need to get done. All right, so we're just gonna have a mini check-in with a poll to let us know maybe what time zone you're in. So if you want to check off one of those time zone options to get a sense of where we're all at. And then if you also want to introduce yourself in the chat, maybe put your name, your pronouns. If you want to drop your like social media handles on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that so we can find you later, please feel free. It looks like most of us are in British time. All right, so now we're going to go over some of our past projects and the projects that we're currently working on, so you can get a sense of the opportunities and different ways to connect in Sapphic Writers. First and foremost, we have our quarterly zines. So that means we put out a zine every 3 months, which sounds pretty crazy. Every 3 months we have a new zine out. And on the left is a picture of our latest zine, which came out at the end of June. So that was actually our full year of putting out zines with the latest one we just did. And all the zines have different themes. Like the most recent one was Pride, under the context of history, and like from Sappho to Stonewall really says it all. That was the theme for that zine. And yeah, honestly, our zine stuff has grown every single time we put out a new one. We have way more submissions, and I think we have way more fun with it every time. And all of our zines come with a zine launch party, which Glasgow Zine Library very gratefully hosts for us. And those are always my favorite thing that we do. The very first project I ever worked on with Sapphic Writers was attending a zine launch. And it was just so fun. Hearing everyone read the poetry that they submitted for the zine actually inspired me to try poetry again. And I'm definitely not a poet. So those events are always just really, really fun, and just such a really fun energy. Would you like to talk about the workshops?
Yeah, so we started having workshops for the first time earlier this year. Our very first workshop was a Bury Your Toxic Tropes workshop with Sappho Events, who work online to provide events to people all over the UK primarily. And Madeline and Julia delivered a brilliant Bury Your Toxic Tropes workshop. We then secured our first ever pot of funding, which was very exciting. And we paid Hannah Louise from Hysteria to deliver a series of workshops on poetry and spoken word, which was nice. They were really well done, and we had a really brilliant cohort. And they had their own little open mic kind of spoken word session at the end, which was lovely. And then upcoming, we've got Priyanka, who is a award-winning poet, who's going to be delivering some mindfulness poetry workshops with us, and that's in August. So yeah, our workshops is definitely a space that we really want to grow. Out of everything we do, it's where the tickets go the fastest, and I think people really appreciate when we host workshops. So we've got a lot of plans coming up for them, but we'll talk about them more later on. Oops. And I just want to talk about the collaborators.
Hello. So the other 4 collaborators that we've been working with this year, Hysteria, as Emrys mentioned, we worked with them. We worked with Hannah to deliver the poetry workshops, and we are also collaborating with them on our upcoming open mic night, which is at the end of this month, last Tuesday of this month. I think I'm going to call it the 29th. They're a feminist art platform, and they uplift non-binary and gender marginalised creatives in Aberdeen. And we like them, they're really good. Queerativity, we hosted an open mic with last month. They are a not-for-profit organisation based in Edinburgh who showcase LGBT artwork. They recently hosted a Pride in the Park in-person event. And it's nice to collaborate with them because they have a network of creatives who aren't necessarily writers, but might use writing or might come to writing in some way. So it's nice to kind of expand our network in that way. You Belong are another platform that started up over lockdown. They're a multilingual platform that showcases BIPOC and disabled performers, and they host monthly online meetings on Zoom. And we work, as Emrys mentioned, with the Glasgow Zine Library to host the zine launches. and hopefully other events will work with them in the future. They provide tech support and advice, and they're a self-publishing, I should have started with this, they're a self-publishing library based in Glasgow. That's about that.
So some of the events that we run, these are the two that we run regularly right now. The Sapphic soirees are something that I run with Julia, the community coordinator. We have these twice a month, which is about every other Friday, and they start at 5 British time and then noon Eastern time. And what these are just usually open writing spaces. Everyone who comes, we encourage them to just let us know what they're working on, if they have a project at hand, if there's anything that they're struggling with, or if there's something that is going really well in their project. We always provide writing prompts, which either work for some like a work in progress prompt, or with a new piece we provide prompts for. And then we also have writing discussions on different topics. So sometimes we'll talk about editing process or how the books we read influence what we write, a bunch of different topics to talk about in a group. And we also offer feedback circles at the soirees. So if there's something that you're currently working on and you want to have feedback for that, you can submit it ahead of time, and then the work will go out to everyone who's scheduled to come to the soiree, and we'll provide feedback in our discussion. So you can get feedback from Julia and I, and then everyone else who's coming to the soiree. And all of the information you need to come to the soiree and to submit any work that you'd like feedback on is all on the website. If you go to our calendar, and you can see when the next soiree is going to be, all of the links you need will be on that page in the website. And then Anissa, if you want to talk about the Sapphic speakeasies.
Yes, the Sapphic speakeasies are hosted on the last Tuesday of every month at 7 o'clock BST. They're just a sort of safe, informal space for people to perform their work, and for members of our community to come and also people from outside our community to come and see the work that the writers are creating, I guess. We run these in collaboration with other organisations. So in the past, as we said, Hysteria and Queerativity. And each month has a different theme. So if anyone ever has any suggestions for people, organisations you'd like us to work with, or themes that you'd like us to run as a speakeasy, your space is performed. So I would send us an email, and was happy to take an idea.
So some of our past community projects that we've done, first up we have the Sapphic Readers Book Club. We started this based off of the book recs that we put out on our social media every Monday, which are just recommendations to books with Sapphic characters or about Sapphic people. And everyone seemed to like those, so we thought, why not start a book club? And we had a couple successful meetings, but realized that with the team that we had, we didn't really have the capacity to keep the book club going as strong as we wanted to and make sure that the engagement was where it should be. So we decided to dial back and focus on us as a writing community rather than a reading community, even though sometimes those are one and the same. But we do hope that in the future, this is something that we can bring back, especially if there is community interest for it. But at the time, we thought we should focus more on the theme of writing and make sure that we're developing those projects first and foremost. And last holiday season, we ran a Sapphic Secret Santa, which was a book exchange. This is something we definitely plan to do again this holiday season, and it was really fun. Participants just signed up with their mailing address and then some, either like a genre of book they like or like a favorite author, to give the Secret Santa a sense of like what that person would want from a book. And then you send the Sapphic book and you receive a Sapphic book. And we really encourage people to either send books that they already had or to buy from a website that would ship internationally. That way it was like free international shipping. So it was used books. They were usually cheaper, and made sure that people could participate if they wanted to. and that was really fun. We definitely expect to do that again. And then we also had a Sapphic Writers Turns 1 birthday party, because Sapphic Writers turned 1 this year on April 15th. And that was really fun. We had people come and read poetry, and it was a cool time.
Hello. So some of you might know that over June it's Pride Month, and we hosted a couple of different events. I would say, largest scale was the 24-hour writing that we did to mark the Dyke Marches. We had, we each, as core team members, hosted slots over 24 hours, and we featured writing prompts and different ideas for each slot, and people were just welcome to come and work on something that they were doing in their personal time, or to take part in the prompts that we were providing. We had a little competition using historical photos as prompts, and the winner's work, I think, is available to view on the website currently. And one of our members clocked in, I think, 11 hours in total, so that was really exciting. And the other event we had was the Evening of Trans Joy, which was a poetry workshop I hosted. It was a trans-specific event, and we looked at using poetry as a way of self-affirmation. It was a very nice. We used writing prompts and sort of ended up just having a discussion and sharing some writing on various ideas that we came up with in self-affirmative writing. Again, if anyone is interested in trans-specific events and wants to make a suggestion, I'm always open to those.
So obviously we've done a lot of different types of community engagement over the last year. Some of our big standouts, of course, is our Facebook group, which is a brilliant way for people to connect. We've got writing prompts going up every Wednesday. We used to do them. We want to start doing them again. We also have a bunch of different ways that people can get involved with, like self-promotion and networking, including our Feature Fridays, which is run by me in China, and we get to interview a different Sapphic every week. That's a lot of fun. We're also going to be starting up our directory soon, where people can kind of register as a writer, and people can find them and get services, which is brilliant. We've also got a really buzzing website full of resources and events. It's got all of our zines on it. All of our news goes on there as well. We have a newsletter that goes out every 2 weeks, written generally by Julia. And it's not just about our work, but about work that involves all feminist and LGBT organizations and journals. And then we also have our podcast, which is led by Madeline, and that's a monthly discussion on Sapphic writing topics. And you'll be pleased to know that our next one is going to be on Spotify, which is so exciting, to finally have the funds to do that. So yeah, lots and lots and lots going on. So this is a little bit about, oh, I think this slide is also later on, Jess. Should we skip this and talk about it later? I think it's a duplicate.
No, it's supposed to happen now.
Oh, is it? Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
So, first and foremost, we're working on a bunch of policies. These will make sure that our work is watertight. It means that we're accountable, and we're transparent about what we're doing, and why we're doing it. So at the moment, we're developing our diversity and inclusion one, our manifesto, different safeguarding policies, accessibility, bullying and harassment, social media, safer spaces, which we've already got up on the website, and a lot more. As we kind of move from being an unpaid team to a paid team, which will hopefully happen later this year, we'll also be developing freelancer policies, and we hope to have really strong supports in place for everyone that works at Sapphic Writers. yeah, and also we're working on a manifesto that's currently being developed by Julia, our communities coordinator. That'll hopefully be going out in autumn. So that's a really exciting part of our work at the moment. And in terms of the finances, we are lucky enough that we've had just over £1,000 in funding so far. And we've kind of split that 50-50. So half of that went towards the poetry workshops that we spoke about earlier, and the other half has went towards core costs. So we paid for a year of the website, accessibility things like making sure that we had live captions, marketing tools, things like that. A year of Zoom as well, because we'll continue running on Zoom. And we've also been lucky enough to build up quite a few donations so far, which has helped keep us going as well. I'll talk a bit more about funding later. There's some more exciting things to come when it talks about finances, but I'll leave that for the funding section. And Nissa, do you want to talk about the upcoming projects?
Hi. So this November, we are planning on hosting a writing festival. So we're hoping to have panels and workshops, as well as some social meetups. Possibly a film screening we'd really like to get done, just things to kind of get people excited in the run up to the holiday season, get the community involved and working towards something. And we're really excited about that. We're currently crowdfunding for that and are hopefully setting up some fundraising events as well, so do keep your eyes peeled. Competitions, we hope to run competitions in the future, immersion writing competitions, just things where we can offer certain writers, what's the word I'm looking for? We can offer certain members of the community more
opportunities.
Sorry?
Opportunities? Was that the word?
Opportunity, yes. Honestly, opportunities to work with us as a core team, and we can give them feedback. That's something is currently in development. Sapphic Seminars is an exciting strand that we are working on, which allows members of the community to come and present a workshop or a seminar as a one-off on any topic they have expertise in, which I think is just a really nice opportunity for people to share their knowledge in a way that kind of works with our fundamental ethos of resource sharing and things like that. So that's one to look forward to for sure.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about our long-term hopes and dreams of Sapphic writers. So first and foremost, before we talk about kind of like long-term, it's important to figure out exactly where we are now and how people are responding to the work that we're putting out. Making sure that monitoring and evaluation is robust and ongoing means that we have a really clear picture of how people are engaging with our work, what they feel like they're getting out of it, and what we could be doing better, things to improve on. So we'll start with some nice positives, because it's always nice. People said that engaging with our work validated them. Very welcoming spaces, great communication skills and community building, brilliantly put together zines, and we had lots of output, lots of opportunities to engage with. So it was great to hear some of them, and it warms our hearts. When it comes to kind of feedback on what people would like to see from us, we were told lots of people wanted more workshops on different subjects. Poetry came up a lot, but so did script writing and short stories and editing. More people really wanted print zines, so like actual ones that they could get and have in their hand rather than reading on a screen, and that is something that we would really love to work towards in the future. Totally fund dependent, as they're free for everyone, so we don't make a profit. One that was probably one of the most important points that came up for us was to work for a core team that is less white. At the time when we did our kind of 2020 feedback form at the end of December, we did have a 100% white team, which we knew had to change. We responded to this one quite quickly. We did a recruitment call specifically for Black people and people of color only. And I think we'll continue to run recruitment like that until we feel comfortable with the balance of the team and to make sure that we're not tokenizing. It's not enough to just have one person. You need to have an equal balance. One thing that also came up was panels that bring in published members from outside the Sapphic Rise community. This is something that we have budget lines in for future funding applications. One that feels really important to us as we continue growing. So hopefully something people will see soon. This is some more business stuff. So we've got a brilliant 5-year plan, which will be on our website, available for anyone to look out after today, and we'll be sending the link through the Eventbrite afterwards. We also registered as a community interest company back in February, which was a big step for us. It means that we can apply for better funding. It means that we've got more validity when we're working with other organizations, which feels quite important, and it felt like the right step for us. We're also applying to multiple strands of funding at the moment. So as I mentioned earlier, we managed to secure about £1,000 from Equality Network to produce workshops and to secure some core costs. We're currently developing a Paul Hamlin application for the Arts Access and Participation Fund. This will hopefully be a total game changer, funding multiple projects and multiple roles. So that's a really, really exciting one. We applied to Lush to run the Sapphic seminars. I'm waiting to hear back from them soon. And we applied to the Feminist Review Trust for 2 zines, which would enable us to pay the team to make them and also pay our contributors £25 each, which feels really, really important. And it's just not something we can do because our zines are free. But we'd like to be able to pay people. It feels very important to do that. So hopefully it pulls through. The last one is fundraising and donations. So we have open donations for Provide. Alyssa or Jess, could you post the link in the Zoom, please? We have that ongoing all the time. Anyone can donate whenever they'd like. We also have a fundraiser open at the moment for our writing festival, which Alyssa talked a little bit about earlier. This is so exciting, and we've got some fundraising ideas up our sleeve as well. So yeah, really excited for that. Okay, so in terms of new and expanding projects, these are a couple more things that we're working on behind the scenes. So the first one is the Emerging Writers Project, which is something that feels very close to my heart as someone that kind of works a lot in community development in an educational sense. We want to start up a mentorship program for young writers that gives them opportunities to connect with established writers and learn from them, as well as learning in a group. To do this, we'll be applying funding to fund a Emerging Writers Project coordinator, as well as 5 mentors who will take a very, very, very small group, between 5 and 10, through 12 weeks of intensive workshops, which hopefully they'll learn a lot from in lots of different disciplines. Well, it doesn't need to just be kind of poetry or short stories. It can be anything. So look out for that, hopefully coming soon. And Jess, do you want to talk a bit about the zine editing?
Yeah, so right now we do minimal copy editing when we put our zines together, but we were really hoping to expand and make sure that we have thorough copy editing for all of our accepted submissions, so we can put out a more polished zine. And we also really want to provide developmental editing for all of our submissions. So even submissions that have to be rejected, we would like to be able to provide, like, this is what worked well, this is how it fit into the zine, this is how it didn't, this is like, these are areas that could use more attention or could be improved upon. That way, when people are submitting their work for the zine, they're going to be able to get more out of it. And those are things that we'd really like to grow as our zine grows and as the team grows.
So as we mentioned quite a few times so far, We've got a ever-growing team. Currently, there are 7 of us. Building a really well-working, well-communicated team was very, very, very important to me when I first started Sapphic Writers. I have been lucky in the sense that I have often only worked in non-hierarchical spaces, which is kind of unheard of. And the fact that I've managed to go most of my career so far only working in spaces that are non-hierarchical is pretty amazing. But it also meant that I knew that I wanted to continue that with Sapphic Writers. It just felt very important to make sure that everyone was able to access what they needed, to speak to whoever they needed. There was no animosity about where people stood. And everyone was able to kind of work together and be honest about their capabilities, be able to communicate. We have a policy that means that anyone can check out of Sapphic Writers whenever they need to take a break for as long as they need to, because one thing that also feels really important is that burnout doesn't happen. So we encourage people to take hiatuses, and we encourage people to go away and develop other areas of their life and come back when they feel really ready. For instance, we've got one person on hiatus right now, Alice, who's been gone since January, who will hopefully be coming back in September. And there was absolutely no fuss made. It's just what needs to happen. And above all, we're just a really friendly team, I would say. Really friendly, and we all respect each other a lot, which I think is really important. And we work well together. So I love the team. I could go on for ages. Yeah, one thing that's really important to us when it comes to the team, as I mentioned earlier, is kind of making sure that we're not only uplifting marginalized voices out with our team, we're not just doing it for the community, but we're also doing it in the team. So making sure that we have good representation. So at the moment, way over half the team are trans or non-binary, which is brilliant. We're lacking in disabled representation. Currently, I'm the only disabled identified person on the team. But we'd like to make sure that more people get involved, and we'd also like to have more people involved that experience trans misogyny, as well as making sure that we continue to include Black Sapphics and Sapphics of colour. So yeah, it's a little bit about kind of how we work in the team itself.
We'd like to have a little open discussion if anyone's up for it. If anyone has any comments or questions, feel free to put that in the chat, or you can even turn your mic on and give us some verbal feedback. It can be about anything that you've heard so far, or if there's any project that you have questions about or want to get involved with, or if there's anything that you'd like to see us working towards, feel free to leave some feedback or ask a question. It's okay if you don't have anything to say. Even if the only thing you have is, Jess, you look good today. I'm so glad I can see your face. That would also be acceptable.
I think there's a question in the chat.
Oh, good. Oh. Plans for screenwriting workshops soon. There actually are plans in the works for screenwriting workshops. One of our members, China, is a screenwriter slash filmmaker. So they do have plans to put together a screenwriting workshop for the community, but it will probably be coming either late fall or early winter, because they're actually working on producing their own film right now. So their plans for the screenwriting workshop has been pushed back a little bit, but it is in the works. So yes, good question. I'm glad you asked.
Any other questions? And anything can be business development related or just community engagement related, anything. No worries if not.
Another question, Emerging Writers Program. Oh, do you want to take this, since that one's really close to you?
Can you read it out? Because I can't have it open at the same
Yes.
time. Hopefully, thanks.
Yeah, the Emerging Writers Program sounds amazing. Was wondering if there's any specific age group within young people that this opportunity will be offered to.
Yeah, so we haven't thought about this in great detail yet. One part of Sapphic Writers that has been upheld from the very beginning is that we're very intergenerational. We've had people as young as 18 and as old as 80 engage with our work. And I'm not just saying like that's the youngest and that's the oldest, but most people are 25. Like our age groups have been massively varied. And I think in the Emerging Writers project, we want to keep upholding that, because whilst there's often lots of opportunities for young people to develop their work as new artists and new writers, these type of programs aren't often aimed at people who are a bit older. It's often assumed that they're already established, or they don't need that support, and we believe that they'll absolutely need that as much as the young person will. So they won't be specifically targeted at young people. It might be that though that we do an Emerging Writers block that is specifically for Black Sapphics and Sapphics of colour, and also led by Black Sapphics and Sapphics of colour as the mentors as well, or for disabled writers, for working class and writers that all come from disadvantaged backgrounds. So I think the possibilities are endless in terms of like how we develop it and make sure that people are included and feel like their voices are being represented. But I don't think we're going to have scope to do one specifically for young people. Any last little questions before we move on to the next one? Okay, Jess, you have to move on to the next slide. Wow. Okay, so recruitment. We are recruiting again. We are looking for 3 Sapphics to join our fairly awesome team. We're looking for people that are really passionate about community engagement. We want to be getting our community engagement projects up and going, more than anything else, really. So that's things like maybe restarting the book club if we have capacity, doing the kind of like Sapphic Secret Santa again, making sure the Facebook group is kept updated and interacted with, and things like that, and developing new things like social activities, as well as working on the Sapphic soirees. So if that's you, please apply. Pardon me. We're focusing this time on Black people, people of colour, disabled people, and trans people affected by trans misogyny. These are the areas where the team needs to be more representative of the people that we, say we represent as Sapphic writers. So whilst this call out is this time is open to white Sapphics, please be aware that it will be prioritizing applications from Black Sapphics and Sapphics of colour. So yeah, think strongly about that if you're thinking of applying. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say. This will be on the website. We'll send out in the email after the AGM is over as well. So make sure the link is there.
I just saw a late question in the chat. If in your writing festival, what sorts of things will be included? Anissa, I don't know if you want to talk on this question.
Hi, yeah. So workshops on a variety of things, and also panel discussions where we hope to invite writers and also potentially people who work with words or with writing in a non-traditional, or in a sense beyond just writing fiction, and like how we can apply those kind of writing to our careers more generally. Some performance opportunities that I'm quite looking forward to, a rehearsed reading hopefully with some writing from a member of our community, and I'm really looking forward to doing some social activities so that we can get the community to engage with each other a bit more closely. Right, listen, I hope that tickles your fancy.
All right, thank you for that. All right, so in closing, we have a couple events going on this July. We have a Sapphic Speakeasy, which are the poetry nights that Anissa was speaking about earlier. So that's going to be on Tuesday, July 27th at 7 BST, 2 p.m. EST. And you can get tickets for that on our website. And then our Sapphic soiree for this month will be Friday, July 30th at 5 BST, noon EST. And I will be hosting that one. So tickets for that and submission information, if you would like to submit a piece for feedback, will also be on our website. And then we have our Ko-fi, which is going to help us raise the money for the writing festival that Anissa just spoke about. We are always taking donations for that. I just put it in the chat. Ko-fi is really easy. It links right to your PayPal if you haven't used it before, and you can just donate £3 at a time. So any amount of money that comes through is really going to help us out and make sure that we can deliver the writing festival that we have envisioned for everybody. So any funds that you can give to the Ko-fi will be really greatly appreciated. And then if you have any final thoughts, comments, or questions, feel free to let us know in the chat or just by letting us hear you talk. But we really thank you for everyone who came today and everyone who asked questions. We were really glad to see people.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great and had some really good questions so far. So thank you. All right, I'm going to stop screen sharing now. There we go. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. And if you have any final questions that you would like to ask us, just feel free to email them over. If you've got anything that you might have thought about right at the very end, and we'll be picking it up then. Great to see you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks so much, everyone. Really great to listen in.
Thanks for coming, Alex.
Of course. Yeah, chat to you soon.
Bye.
Bye, bye.
Everyone, bye.
All right.
Howdy, team.
Order.